Great, yeah. Great.
So file, new project. So I've got my blank Windows form. So whatever I'm going to call it, fractal conversion. I'll have to give it some kind of number because I've already called one that. So it gives me my blank project, and I've got my entry point, which is here. And because this is an application that Java is an applet, this doesn't have the same entry point. So if we just shrink everything down so you can see the structure of it, I'd like to maintain the structure, so I've tried to make them both match.
I'm sure that's recorded as well.
Well, I don't know. I'm a bit uncomfortable about having things recorded, really, like, because it's then you're just copying. I don't want things copied. I've already got it. I don't need it copied. So I want to keep the structure the same. So this has got the HSB class. It's got the instance variables. Then the thing that the Java didn't have was the constructor, because it has a different entry point because it's being called by a browser because it's an applet. So the browser calls init and then it calls start, whereas our application calls our constructor. So I want to keep the same structure. So the things that are going to go above here, I want to be the same as the Java. So the things that are going to go above my constructor are going to be the HSB class and these declarations. So I'll copy this first. I do advise though that, well, as soon as I'm advising, I might as well do it, that the HSB struct is just a bit simpler, so I'll copy that in instead of the class. So just this struct. Not as easy to spot the end of it, but there it is. So that's the equivalent. So I'll copy that in. And that doesn't have any syntax errors, that works fine, so I can shrink that down just to keep it out of sight, and then I can copy the instance variables and they go above the constructor as well. And any syntax errors I get, final is not a keyword in C#, it's got an equivalent though, and it is const. Yeah, so I can just search and replace those. Here's one I did earlier. So you can see the syntax errors disappearing. Similarly, Boolean is not a keyword in C#, it's bool. So I could easily Google that. I've changed the HSB thing, I changed it to the struct. So I'll just get rid of that for the time being. There's an example that shows you how to use it in the examples directory. So all those syntax errors have gone. So I'm just going to copy one thing at once. So now I'm on this init method. So I'm going to copy that across. That goes below the constructor. It's not vital, but it's just best to keep the same structure. So now I'm going to get some syntax errors here. Set size, I can guess, sets the size of the window. So I can set the size of the window by going onto the form, looking at the properties, looking for where it says something to do with size. So I haven't memorised any of this thing. I just look. I'm just using my eyes and looking for it. So there it is. So 640, 480 it was. Let's change the size. So I've done that. I've done what it's doing, so I can get rid of it. I'll probably just leave it in just to. The mouse, we looked at the mouse example, and the mouse just it's different. The mouse system's different, and then we've got an example and it works, so we don't need to do all this. The cursors I'll come back to, but they are something to do at the very last minute because they are definitely bells and whistles. I can see what that's doing. It's trying to read the size of the window. Well, size, anything that's here in the properties is part of your code already. So you can see that there was a size. I was there a minute ago. There it is, size. So size is part of it.
So you just enter it manually.
So if I type, I'll just get rid of the end bit, but if I type size, add a capital S, so it needs one now, you can see it's listing all the things that it knows it exists. Press the dot and it lists everything that's inside it. There's height, and hey presto, there's width. So that's how you read the width. So exactly the same for this. Size dot height. And there you go. So this is doing the two things that I've done for the last 3 weeks. Creating a bitmap, getting the context. So it's slightly different in Java than it is in C#, but I know that, and there's loads of examples, isn't there? There's examples which will show it how you do it. So I can remember how to do it, but if you don't, or if I didn't, I'd look in one of these examples. So I know how to create a bitmap by doing and I know how to get a graphics context because they're in that example, but I can remember, but it's not a big leap to just be able to look at the example. And you can see the things are popping up as I'm typing it anyway. I'm kind of preserving the original Java as I'm going along by just commenting it. And that's init converted. The only thing is that init won't get called like it is in the Java because it's called by the browser. So it must be called from our entry point. So I've done that one, no syntax errors. I don't need to do destroy for reasons already stated. Start, copy that, goes below init. See, it's got one syntax error, and that's purely, it's got two, and it's because I haven't copied these methods yet. So I've got a syntax error for init values, and it's a method, and it's because I haven't copied it yet.
So you copy those two as well.
So if I copy, I'll do one at a time. So init values, I'll copy that across. So see where I'm putting them, like, I'm not putting it inside the method, I'm keeping the structure exactly the same. So init values disappears because there's no syntax errors in init values. Mandelbrot. You can see that Mandelbrot is above init values, so I'm going to copy it above init values again. So init values is there, but just to maintain the structure. So I've copied that in. So that's got rid of that syntax error, but obviously Mandelbrot's got its own syntax errors. So you can see one thing is leading to another, but I'm fixing each thing in turn. If I go up, you can see there are no syntax errors.
So you work down.
Yeah, I'm just working down. Whereas if I copy the whole lot in one go, it's just going to completely overwhelm me. In
what I always do
errors.
is I copy paste the entire thing and then press
Yeah,
build, and it has 700 errors. Like
well, that's not great. So again, we're just repeating what I've said before. Cursor, worry about that at the last minute. We'll come to it. Show status on a browser. It doesn't show up very well on Chrome, but it's the thing at the bottom. It's not. I can't bring it. It's when you get messages. It's not doing it now, but you can put a message in the bottom bar. So what you can do is using your designer, your toolbox, you could get a text field, text box, drop it onto your form, stretch it to the width of the window, change its name and call it show status, and then change its property as .text to whatever the message is. So it'll be show status .text equals. So that's a way of doing it, but I'm just going to comment it out for now. We'll come back to it. The next syntax error is point color. That's another method that's missing. You can see that's directly below Mandelbrot, so I'll copy that one in. And that has no syntax errors, and it gets rid of that. All the syntax errors inside here are to do with it is changing the colour, which is that it's calculating the colour, it's then creating a colour out of what it did, and then drawing a point with it.
Do we have to change HSB?
So that's an example of how to use HSB col. So you can work all that out, and then how to draw the line. So that this is all the drawing stuff. So there are examples for that. So you're now really at a state where it's practically converted. So we said we would about the show status later, and the set cursor. All we need to do now to get that. So I am about 5 minutes away from getting the fractal on the screen. It's all stuff that's in the examples. So it's using the HSB col to take the HSB values and convert them into an RGB, create a pen of that colour, draw the point with that colour. So you've got examples that do all that, and then it's just the mouse stuff, which you've got an example that does that as well. So I think I've
Alright.
done enough for
Yeah,
now.
you've gone beyond there.
Yeah.
Is the HSB